If you have ever wondered what the difference is between a pet peeve and a small issue that you have, both of which are sometimes to whatever degree driving you crazy, how do I know what to bring up? How do I know what's worth the conversation and what's worth pursuing? This video is for you. I have met with people that have been together and sat with and wondered, right? It's been 2 years, or it's been 12 years, or it's been 25 years, and they wonder and they ask me, this has been something that's been going on for forever. How do I know that it's bugging me, or it's hurtful to me, or whatever it may be? How do I know that that's what I need to bring up? So that's what we're talking about today. A pet peeve. Let's start with the pet peeves. When you look it up, and I looked this up just for fun, the definition says it's something that a particular person finds especially annoying. Okay? We all have pet peeves. If you've been married longer than 2 days, I usually say, if you've just even gone through the wedding, you've known each other for several years or what have you, you know that you each have a pet peeve. For the lucky ones of us, like my husband and I, we actually aligned in a lot of our pet peeves. One of which being in the bathroom, when you get out of the shower or out of the bath or whatever, both of us really hate, right, being all ready for the day, having all the clothes, and then you walk in and you step on like drops of water on the floor. Meaning, right, you end up having a wet sock or wet tights or whatever it is that you're wearing, and you have to either deal with the this feels not so great, or I have to go put some new socks or some new tights on. As a result of which, right, we taught our children to do this, right? We don't, and a lot of people do this. There's no problem with this so long as you both agree. We dry off in the shower or in the bath. We don't dry off outside of it, so it doesn't, right, the whole area isn't covered with little drippings of water. So not a problem there. The other thing that we have that we both find annoying is when people chew with their mouth open. Again, we raised our girls to then, for that reason, right, this is something that's really annoying to us. There's nothing more that I'm attaching to it. I don't think people do it on purpose to me. I don't think, right, I don't make it mean that people don't like me when they do this thing. But it's something that both my husband and I find super annoying and hard to ignore or whatever when's happening. So we, as a result, our family doesn't, that's the rule. We don't, if you need to say something, you need to finish what's in your mouth, and like from the age that the kids were 2 years old or whatever, they were eating solid foods, 18 months, I suppose, or a year, whenever you start with those, right? We started talking about it and just making sure that they knew, and that wouldn't be an issue. One last one, slamming doors. I don't even know where this came from. I don't know if this is growing up we picked it up somewhere or whatever, but again, we align. Like, I don't know how I lucked out like this, but that may or may not be the case in your relationship. I don't know if this is if right, like all the things that are annoyances for you are also annoyances for your husband. The things that I hear, or for your wife, the things that I hear often are, right, for the pet peeves is, if I've just finished, and I guess maybe this is another one that I'm like, well, I can see this. When I've just finished cleaning the kitchen, right? Made the food, cut up all the veggies, and, made whatever stir fry or fill in the blank what meal. And I cleaned up the mess. I put all the food away. I, started the dishwasher, and then somebody brings a cup or a glass or a bowl, and sets it right there on the counter, right? Or the dishwasher is ready to go, but I'm waiting for all the last things, and instead of putting it in the dishwasher, they placed it on the top of the counter. the pet peeves, while they're annoying, most people don't attach meaning to them. And that's the differentiating factor here. If it's a pet peeve, you're just annoyed, right? Somebody, like even the kids the other day, the neighbor kids came and they're slamming doors left and right, and I'm like, can we stop doing that? Anyway, I don't attach any meaning to that. So that's where pet peeves live. I have them, right? You probably have them. My husband has them. And there's more than just the 3 that we align on. But they're just the annoyances that happen, and we have them with other people. We don't just have them with our spouses, right? And it's okay. Like it's just, I think of it as like part of our human experience. The people that we engage in, the people that we live with, the people that we including the people that we get married to, are not perfect, and this is one of those things that they're doing. And I can remind myself, yes, it's annoying, and I'm just gonna move on. It's not. It doesn't mean anything. On the other hand, are the things that, and this is the reason that I'm bringing this up, is they're often really similar in how they present, or how they look on the outside, but the way that you take them in, if it's a thing that I would want you to bring up to your spouse, the difference between a pet peeve and the small, right? And we kind of minimize things, maybe not all the time, but often. Oh, it's so small. Why am I so annoyed? I shouldn't be so annoyed or angry or frustrated or whatever. I should just be able to get over this, right? Why is this so hard for me to get over, or to forget, or to ignore, or to fill in the blank what, right? The difference is when some of those things, even when they are small, they carry with them a meaning. And for this, you might have to sit with it for a hot second or two. Is there a meaning that you're attaching to this thing that your spouse is doing or is not doing, right? Depending on which side of the spectrum that falls. Am I making it mean something that then undermines our relationship in the short term and over the long haul, right? So the difference would be, and this is one, and I use this as an example with my couples all the time. This is years ago, and I made the same mistake that you are probably doing, or have been doing for years. I didn't say anything for the longest time. I didn't bring it up, partly because it was something that happened right before I left for work. And then by the time the whole day happened and the evening came around, and none of that, I had no sort of reminding triggers to say, hey, Danka, bring this up. Hey, this is still a thing for you. But there'd be things left in the bathroom, and as my way of getting things, I think this was pre-kids, so you can do the math and figure out how long ago this was, but I used to, before leaving for the day, I would do this sweep. I'd spend, depending on the day, sometimes it would be 5 minutes, sometimes it would be 20. But just kind of picking up, putting things away, and in the bathroom, though we never agreed to it, or nobody ever signed an agreement that said, this is what we're agreeing to do at the end of our morning routine or whatever, using the bathroom. But my husband would leave either a towel or his underwear or something on the floor for me to then come and pick up, right? He would never find it there the next day or even later in the day, because in my anger and whatever, I'd pick it up and throw it where it needed to be. But every morning, the message that he left on the wall, the writing on the wall, so to speak, was, I don't care that you take the time that you do and care about tidying this place up or doing whatever it is, so that when we come back home from work, it's not a sty, so to speak, right? That is what I heard him say. Versus the pet peeve were not, I didn't attach, I don't attach those sorts of things to them. So even though this was a tiny little thing, and this happened for way too many times in a row, this is before I knew better, but when I realized, okay, this is now happening and it's happened 3+ times, and that's kind of my rule of thumb that I share with my couples, is if it's one time and you get annoyed and you have this, right, this like ingrained response that we've heard, oh, it's so tiny, like why would you even be upset about it? Ignore it, don't worry about it, just let it go. If you can let it go, let it go. If it happens again, I would start paying attention. And then if it happens a third time and you still have what seems like an out of proportion response to a thing that somebody else may be like, what? It's really not that big of a deal, right? Like you bend over, you pick up the towel, you bend over, you pick up the underwear, and you throw it in the hamper or whatever. I would want you to think about what meaning you're attaching to it, and if it has anything to do with your relationship in the way that mine did, I would encourage you to bring it up. No matter how meaningless or small or like insignificant the same thing would be to someone else. It doesn't matter. I would set all that aside. Here's the messaging that I'm hearing from my spouse, and they likely, and with my spouse this was, with my husband that was exactly the case. He had no idea that every morning, right, he kept leaving this note on the freaking wall, right, for me to read. And once he realized it, right, and once we had the conversation, I explained myself in that way to him, and I did my ask, which is key, and I knew what I was asking for. I didn't just leave it, and right, I didn't just say this is what the pain is. Here's what I want you to do, and I spelled it out, and with no, like, leaving nothing to interpretation, right? We've had that hasn't happened, and I haven't seen him write that message on the wall, but maybe once or twice a year when he's running late for a meeting that he forgot about, or maybe he's getting on a plane and it's a 4:00 in the morning flight. So if you this is how I explain the difference, or this is how I would tell you to tell the difference. Now, if you are finding yourselves trying to, or having a conversation, or getting yourselves into conversations, and you, at the end or throughout that process, you're like, this is getting out of control, or it's gotten out of control again, and you're both sort of split in the end, rather than coming back together again, I might know why that is happening. And if you're interested to know if that's actually what it is for you, I talk about it in this other video, and I would love for you to go check that out. And I'll see you in there.